we're saying is you can't carry a gun in town.
I have two guns, one for each of you.
When Tombstone hit theaters in 1993, it wasn't just another Western, it was a cultural lightning bolt. Gritty, emotional, and filled with unforgettable performances, it resurrected the dying genre and gave audiences a new kind of hero. Among the stars, Sam Elliott stood tall, literally and symbolically, as Virgil Earp, the stoic older brother who embodied justice and honor in a lawless world. But behind that calm, gravel-voiced strength lies a story that even lifelong fans never truly understood. For years, Elliot kept quiet about the film's most shocking truths: the off-screen tension, the hidden creative battles, and the emotional cost of bringing Tombstone to life. Only recently did he open up about what really went on during filming, and what audiences completely missed. The truth is, Tombstone wasn't the movie fans think it was. It was a project nearly destroyed by chaos, ego, and heartbreak, a miracle that it was ever finished. And Sam Elliott, a man known for few words, carried some of the heaviest burdens behind the scenes. What he finally revealed has changed how fans see one of the greatest Westerns of all time, and the man who helped make it unforgettable. This is the untold story behind Tombstone, the secrets, the sacrifices, and Sam Elliott's revelation that proves even legends carry wounds no one ever sees. When audiences watched Tombstone, they saw a perfectly crafted Western masterpiece, rich in drama, loyalty, and courage. But what they didn't see was the storm brewing behind the scenes. According to Sam Elliott, Tombstone was one of the most chaotic film sets he had ever worked on. What began as a dream project nearly fell apart before the first gunfight was even filmed. The problem started early in production. The script, written by Kevin Jarrah, the same man who gave life to Glory, was a masterpiece on paper. Jarrah was passionate about authenticity, wanting to recreate the real Tombstone, Arizona, right down to the dust and the stitching in the costumes. But his vision quickly clashed with Hollywood's fast-paced production demands. Jarrah, who had never directed before, was overwhelmed. Scenes ran hours behind schedule, actors waited endlessly under the blazing sun, and tensions began to rise. Sam Elliott remembered those days vividly. In one rare interview, he said, "We were all trying to make a great film, but there were days it felt like we were riding a horse with no reins." The cast, which included heavyweights like Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer, respected Jarrah's artistic eye. But they knew the movie was slipping out of control. Just weeks into filming, producers made a painful decision. Kevin Jarrah was fired as director. It was a devastating blow to the cast. Elliot recalled how the mood on set shifted overnight. "We were stunned. One day we had a director who believed in every detail, and the next we were told to move on without him. To save the film, Hollywood brought in George P. Cosmatos, known for his work on Rambo, First Blood Part 2. But even that decision created new friction. While Cosmatos was officially the director, rumors spread that Kurt Russell himself was quietly steering the ship, ensuring the movie stayed true to Jarrah's vision. Sam Elliott never confirmed those rumors directly, but he did hint that Kurt carried that movie on his shoulders in more ways than one. The constant changes created confusion. Scenes were rewritten, lighting setups were redone, and several crew members quit. But Elliott, ever the professional, stayed grounded. His calm, commanding presence on screen mirrored the man he was off camera. While others argued or vented, Elliott focused on the work. He once said, "When everything around you is falling apart, sometimes the best thing you can do is just keep doing your job." Despite the behind-the-scenes turmoil, something extraordinary began to happen. The cast bonded in ways no one expected. The adversity united them. Each long night, each take under the desert heat, added a layer of authenticity that no script could create. The exhaustion you see in their faces in the final film, that wasn't acting. It was real. Looking back, Sam Elliott believes that chaos was part of the film's destiny. Without it, Tombstone might never have become the gritty, emotionally charged classic it is today. "Sometimes," he said, You've got to walk through the fire to find the truth of a story. The Tombstone set was filled with egos, heat, and high stakes, but it also had heart. And for Elliot, it proved that great films aren't born out of perfection. They're forged in struggle. As the dust settled after the firing of Kevin Jarre, Tombstone could have easily fallen apart. Morale was low and uncertainty lingered in the air. But Sam Elliott often said that it was in those uneasy moments that the cast became more than just co-workers. They became family. Elliot, who played the steadfast Virgil Earp, naturally became the emotional anchor off-screen as well. His calm presence and grounded personality helped steady a cast that was struggling to adjust to new leadership. Kurt Russell, playing Wyatt Earp, took much of the weight on his shoulders, quietly directing scenes behind the camera to keep Jarre's original vision alive. Val Kilmer, meanwhile, was fully immersed in his role as the dying, witty Doc Holliday, a performance that many still call one of the greatest in film history. Sam Elliott later revealed that what audiences saw on screen, the bond between the Earp brothers, wasn't just acting. It was real. We leaned on each other, he said. Kurt, Bill, and I had a connection that went beyond the script. When you're filming 14-hour days in the middle of nowhere, with everything falling apart around you, you start to depend on the people standing next to you. Behind the scenes, the cast created their own quiet rhythm. Between takes, they'd share stories, joke around, or sit in silence under the desert sun, conserving energy for the next scene. Val Kilmer would often break the tension with humor, while Elliott's deep laugh became a comforting sound amid the chaos. There were days when the laughter was the only thing keeping us going, Elliott recalled, but that bond was tested too. Not every relationship on set was easy. The movie's intense atmosphere led to moments of friction, especially as different personalities clashed over creative choices. Yet Elliott always kept his focus on the bigger picture. Egos are a dime a dozen in Hollywood, he once said. But teamwork, real teamwork, that's rare. And that's what made Tombstone special. He also admired Val Kilmer's total commitment to his role. Kilmer, battling illness and exhaustion during filming, channeled his pain into Doc Holliday's hauntingly authentic performance. Elliott later admitted that Kilmer's dedication inspired him deeply. Val didn't just play Doc, he became him. Watching that transformation reminded all of us what we were fighting for. Even small gestures strengthened their unity. Kurt Russell would sometimes invite the cast to rehearse lines together after long days. Sam Elliott, a man of few words, often joined quietly, offering advice when needed. These sessions not only improved the performances, but also kept the spirit of brotherhood alive. When filming finally wrapped, Elliott said the goodbyes were emotional. You go through something like that, all the chaos, all the stress, and when it's over, you realize you've been part of something much bigger than a movie. That invisible bond became the film's emotional core. The way the Earp brothers look at each other before walking into the gunfight at the OK Corral, that look of unspoken trust, was born out of genuine respect. What audiences felt was real connection, captured forever on film. Decades later, Elliott would still speak fondly of Tombstone. Not just because it revived the Western genre, but because it reminded him that true artistry comes from collaboration and heart. We were all different men, he said. But for a little while, we rode together, and that's something I'll never forget. While Tombstone became a career-defining film for many of its stars, few realized the personal toll it took on Sam Elliott. Behind that calm exterior and commanding voice, he carried the emotional weight of a man deeply invested in his craft and quietly suffering from the pressure that came with it. Elliott had always been known for his professionalism. He never complained, never demanded attention, and rarely spoke about his struggles. But Tombstone was different. The relentless schedule, harsh filming conditions, and chaotic production tested even his legendary patience. Temperatures soared in the Arizona desert, sometimes reaching over 110 degrees, and scenes often had to be reshot multiple times due to script changes and new direction orders. Elliott once admitted, it wasn't just acting, it was endurance. Every day felt like a battle to get it right. His portrayal of Virgil Earp, the moral backbone of the story, mirrored his own personality. steady, brave, and quietly burdened. The lines between Sam and Virgil blurred, and many on set said that Elliot was living the role rather than playing it. In interviews years later, he hinted that Virgil's pain felt personal. "I knew what it meant to carry responsibility," he said softly. Virgil stood for duty even when it cost him peace. That hit close to home. At the time, Elliot was also balancing a demanding career and personal challenges. He and his wife, actress Catherine Ross, had just welcomed their daughter a few years prior, and being away from family during the long, grueling shoot took a quiet, emotional toll. He missed milestones, family dinners, and the calm of home life, sacrifices that audiences never saw behind his stoic on-screen demeanor. Yet Elliot refused to show weakness. Instead, he used that inner struggle to fuel his performance. Every look, every word spoken by Virgil Earp carried layers of emotion, a man who stood strong not because he wanted to, but because he had to. That authenticity became one of Tombstone's defining strengths. Elliot's commitment didn't go unnoticed. His co-stars often spoke about his integrity. Kurt Russell once said, "Sam is the kind of actor who lifts everyone around him. He doesn't have to say much, just being there makes you better." That quiet leadership helped stabilize a production constantly, on the edge of collapse. But Elliot later revealed that there was a moment he nearly walked away. The exhaustion, the confusion from constant rewrites, and the loss of creative trust had pushed him to his limit. "There were nights I'd lie in my trailer and wonder if it was worth it," he recalled. "But then I'd think about the story, about these men who stood for something bigger than themselves, and I'd get up the next morning and do it all again." In hindsight, Elliot believes that his personal sacrifices were worth it. Tombstone became not only a critical success, but also a timeless symbol of loyalty and courage. And for Sam, it became a reflection of his own values: discipline, humility, and strength in silence. What most fans never realized is that Tombstone changed him. It made him more introspective, more selective about his projects, and more appreciative of the simple things: family dinners, quiet mornings, and time away from the spotlight. "You give a piece of yourself to every role," he once said. But some roles take a piece you never get back. For years after Tombstone's release, fans celebrated the film as one of the greatest westerns ever made. The quotes became iconic. "I'm your huckleberry. You tell him I'm coming and hell's coming with me." But Sam Elliott remained quiet about his own experience. He let the movie speak for itself. That is, until recently, when he finally broke his silence in a rare interview that stunned longtime fans. Elliot revealed that much of what made Tombstone so emotionally powerful wasn't just great acting, it was raw truth. The exhaustion, the silence, the tension you see on screen were real. "We weren't pretending to be tired or frustrated," he said. "We were tired and frustrated. But somehow, that struggle gave the movie its soul." Then came the revelation that truly surprised fans. The most iconic moments in Tombstone, including several lines and emotional beats, were never in the script. They were born on set, out of desperation and instinct. Elliot admitted that during one critical scene, when Virgil Earp is wounded and carried off by his brothers, the emotion you see wasn't acting at all. "We'd been through hell together," he said. By that point, it wasn't a performance, it was real. Even more surprising was his confession about the film's leadership. After years of rumors, Elliot subtly confirmed that Kurt Russell had quietly taken over much of the directing behind the scenes. "Kurt was the heartbeat of that movie," Elliot said. "He carried it when everything was falling apart. People don't realize how much of Tombstone exists because he refused to let it die." That statement sent shockwaves through the film community, validating what many insiders had whispered for decades. It wasn't just a movie held together by a studio. It was a project held together by faith, friendship, and sheer willpower. Elliot also opened up about how Tombstone marked a turning point in his life. He confessed that he nearly quit Hollywood afterward, believing that nothing could ever match the honesty or emotional depth of that experience. "It wasn't about fame or money," he explained. It was about telling a story that meant something. After Tombstone, I realized how rare that really is. But perhaps the most heartbreaking part of his revelation was his reflection on time and mortality. He spoke about the loss of several people connected to the film and how that has changed how he views his legacy. "You look back and realize those days are gone," he said quietly. "You can't go back to that dust, that brotherhood, that fire. All you can do is be grateful you lived it." Even now, decades later, Tombstone continues to grow in legend, and Sam Elliott's words have only deepened its impact. What fans never figured out until he told them was that the pain, the heart, and the humanity behind that film were all real. In the end, Elliott's revelation isn't just about movie secrets, it's about life itself. The hardships, the loyalty, the courage to keep going even when everything falls apart. Those are the real lessons hidden in Tombstone. As Elliot put it best, "You can fake a gunfight, but you can't fake truth." And that's what we found out there in the desert. With that simple truth, Sam Elliott reminded the world that Tombstone wasn't just a Western. It was a testament to endurance, faith, and the beauty of fighting for something worth remembering.